if we need to start on sanctions, how have they changed? And do you have hope that one day they will be lifted?
Yes, when we will have a court resolution. It will happen, I think, this year.
This year, so you believe that there's a strong chance that sanctions will be lifted, or do you think that
because sanctions was based on nonsense, and the more they disclose material, which was a part of the allegations, the more nonsense we see. I mean, my legal team.
Okay, I know we don't want to spend too much time on sanctions, but just maybe a final one on, if you look at the Russian changes, the Russian political changes, does that impact sanctions lifting at all, or are they completely disconnected?
Russian political changes at this moment has one goal: to boost economic growth. And if you would like my opinion, I think sanction pressure was bottom in 18. Economy more or less adopt now to this regime and to find new way to attract capital, raise debt. And it's more and more on government, how government could really boost through the infrastructure spending and through this tax reform which has been promised, economic expectation, and then it's investment.
Not in the sanctions that you have faced, but on your experience of sanctions. Afshinani Beshlov sat in this chair yesterday and said sanctions don't work because things are so fluid now. Is it a general statement? Is there an efficacy to sanctions, or are they a process from another time and place?
No, sanctions definitely work. It's very painful, not just for me, for my employee, for investors, for a lot of people. It in my case, affect a couple of million people directly in one day. Russian market collapse, if you remember, 14%. And of course, it would be better way to apply them with international law in order, based on UN resolution. And if sanctions would apply to climate change, we will never see so many coal-fired plants built all around the globe. But unfortunately, we don't have this order now, and there is unilateral.
If you look at the sustainability, you mentioned sustainability. Do we need sanctions against sustainability? People that don't believe in it, that don't do enough in it?
Of course, we had few agreements: Kyoto Agreement, Paris Agreement. How are you going to enforce it? It's so-called based on goodwill, but in reality, who will? Who will abandon competition advantage which represented by this coal-fired plant in Indonesia, in South Africa, in India, in China? No one. But I would rather getting back into climate change discussion here, and I was really surprised that no one even mentioned nuclear as a solution. And we all know that the base load, which now represented 50%, but the coal-fired couldn't be somehow disappeared, and it should be substitution. Nuclear is the only solution.
Oleg, I've got to frame this because you are the singular voice in the world within business, with a physics degree, and a physics degree from a major university, and also your heritage of reading Jack London. We're sitting here in Happy Valley with the Call of the Wild all around us of Jack London. The industries that you face that you are part of, aluminum and such, have to provide leadership towards a better climate change. Are you optimistic that the industry of Jack London, the industry of the 20th century, can move forward and really advance to a better climate?
100%. In my previous experience as when I managed Rusal and N+, we went to Hydro almost 100%. And of course, there is not enough resources, but it doesn't mean that you need to, burn coal in Indonesia. But as I said, for base load, you need, in power generation, you need nuclear. It's just impossible.
Is this because of America's the skeleton of the past, the ghost of 3 Mile Island, that America's not on board with the French and others on the efficacy of nuclear energy as a solution here?
Yes. It's the only solution. You can't make a base load on wind, on solar, just because it's temporary over the day, over the period of time. You need to have some, and people who develop, energy accumulation, or saving, it's also important. But you need to have a base load.
The United States of America was transfixed with much of the world by the Hollywood of Chernobyl and how. What did you think of Chernobyl as a Russian physicist? And is there a legitimate fear of nuclear energy that was witnessed in a very successful Hollywood fiction?
No, we're way out of these problems which caused Chernobyl or Fukushima or 3 Mile. You know, it's technology developed. It's much more safe. There is new type of reactor which just do not allow this happen. You know, it's a reality. Nuclear now is as safe as I don't know, as a solar panel.
Okay, you've called for a CO2 tax, right, of $100 per ton, make the UN in charge of it, and move the UN headquarters out of New York. Are you getting any traction?
No, it's two different subjects. I'm talking about how we're going to enforce it. What would be resolution, you know? And if U.S. positions they want to extend their legal system without any liabilities, maybe it's better to move in a place for resolution and decision where it wouldn't be suppressed by U.S. institutions, somewhere neutral, Switzerland, Austria, Dutch, you know, Holland, you know, whatever. I mean, but it's as I said, it's very difficult task to do. But $100, you know, if 3 years ago we need just discourage people to use coal, but now we need to punish for people using coal, because otherwise they will not stop. There will always be a bargain, you know, because there is no real alternative to some supply.
I spoke to John Kerry this morning at length. He strongly agrees with you on these themes. How do you respond to the political America that is removed from the former Secretary of State's views or your views? How do you convince an America suspect about the need to quote unquote cure coal? What's the process to get America into this debate?
I think media should be more, how to say, open and shows these pictures like you see when you travel in China, or what's going on in Indonesia now, or India. If people really see what's going on, and it's our common resources, air which globally polluted would cause anyone problem. And I don't know, but again, there is a leadership. And if kids start stressing this point more and more, give us answer now, it's a reality, because it been failed to deliver after Paris. Everyone been so optimistic, and now it's this $100 is the only way to stop people even to think.
What will happen with your automotive business? Do you see sanctions being lifted there, and if yes, will you sell it off?
We hope that we can reach agreement, but at this moment, everything installment in U.S. They're so scared impeachment, new election. They don't want to even talk about anything which will implicate their own process. But this is a reality.
But would you be?
It would be tough year for the car group of gas. It would be very tough year.
All right. Would you sell it off?
It doesn't. It will not solve the problem. You need to leave sanction. Who will buy enterprise and sanction?